Joining us now to share her memories of the late Jessie Duarte, his ANC Women's League National Task Team Convener, Baleka Mbete, and former Speaker of the National Assembly. Mama, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and for joining us. However, it be on such difficult conditions. What does it mean to lose Mam Jessie Duarte for you personally at this time, but also for the organization, the African National Congress?
I think it's a very tough loss for the organization, and as individuals, with our personal relationships with her, we had been nursing hopes. I had been nursing hopes, and we've been in touch that she has to try and save her energy, because I noticed that during the time she was in hospital, she was also still observing what was going on, dynamics, and sometimes intervening. So, one had to worry that maybe she was still not resting fully as she needed to in terms of doctor's orders. But she continued like that, made very critical inputs over this time as she was lying in bed. And this morning I was going through all the messages in a particular chat group that we had, where there were about 10 of us, where we would reflect on things, and she would forward old messages. For instance, a quotation from Fidel Castro of Cuba, when 30 years ago he predicted that at a certain point in the future there will be a war between Russia and the rest of what would be called democratic countries, but of course it would be nothing democratic about them. So, Jessie, at some point she was doing battle with an individual who was attacking her. And she responded, but then of course she saved herself, because she said, I'm not going to respond anymore to you, but straight in the report, very calmly. And on other matters that troubled her, she continuously commented, urging us never to allow the ANC to die, because as she said, it's the champion of the poor and the underdog in society. Yeah. So never allow it to die. And of course, her critical issues that she worried about were the non-racialism in our actual practice, in the activities of the organization, and of course the issues of women.
Yes, yes. Reflecting on those last conversations, and maybe going back to when you were re-elected as the chairperson of the ANC in 2012 at the 53rd National Conference, and she joined the top six then for the second term of former President Jacob Zuma. How massively prepared was she to rock the boat, as it were, when she comes in?
Oh, Jessie is a ball of energy any time of the day. So she was always ready, having been activist long before democracy came. I mean, I met her when we were outside the country. At a certain point, they came to Botswana for consultations. Sometimes they came to Lusaka. So I met her under those circumstances when they were active here inside the country and we were outside. So by the time 1994 came and we were now unbanned and so on, she was very ready, because, we're dealing with the same issues. The fact that the different institutions of governance take up various matters or portfolios, they still emanate from discussions of the needs of the people on the ground, and therefore what needed to be attended to. And that was a matter that you could interview her on in the middle of the night, and she would give you answers.
Yeah. Speaking of the issues, her views on women being separately organized in order for their voice to be heard, has it, I suppose, that dynamic changed over the years, especially in the leadership roles, various leadership roles that she's played in government, but also within the party?
I think that the issues of women were part of Jessie's day and night concerns right up to the end. The fact that the ANC retrogressed at the last conference by way of, whereas in the previous conference it had had 2 women as part of the top 6, now the last conference whittled it down to herself alone, 1 woman, worried her a great deal. And therefore, earlier in the year, she once sent us a message telling us that she was going to be meeting with the top 6. I don't know whether she was going to be meeting them physically or what, but I know that it was in February, that she was going to be discussing the issues of women's involvement. And at that time, the issues of the president, the then president of the Judicial Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein, Maya, was, the topical matters, and therefore she was going to take up those issues. But she then raised with us in that chat group the question of December conference, the ANC National Conference, and her worry about what was going to happen at that point. And hopefully that's a matter that the collective of women who are seized right now with the issues of women will still pursue in her honor, because I think if nothing else, we owe her that much.
Let's take a quick break. Can you please stay on, because I want you to read for us that poem that you wrote about her, the totem that you gave her, and what it means, and what is your reflection on that piece of writing that you have put together. We'll continue in a moment, and we will be in conversation still with the National Task Team Convener of the ANC, Baleka Mbete. Back tonight here on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405. Still with us, ANC Women's League National Task Team Convener, Baleka Mbete, a reflection on the life of and times of the late ANC stalwart Jessie Duarte. Now, I know you say you recently penned something following the conversation that you've been having with her, and also hearing of the news of her passing, and you're giving her a totem. You're saying your totem is a bear. Why that reflection, and how does it encapsulate where Jessie Duarte was at this time in her life?
You misunderstood me. It comes directly from what she posted on the 28th of June, 2022.
Right.
And I want to read it directly from her message. So my poem was written today after I heard about her passing, but it's based on this that she had sent to us in that chat group. My totem is the bear. That's what the message says. I look far ahead and see joy and some pain. I am strong, am resilient. Life knocks me and I ask, who is there? My answer is love. So that's what she sent. And on the basis of that, today when I was spending hours in a daze really coming to terms with the fact that and the announcement came, at least I was told at 1 minute to 5 this morning that she had passed on. If you don't mind, I'll read what I wrote.
Yes, please.
You have departed this earth. For hours I've been stunned. I knew you had changed gear when you declared for all to know your totem is the bear. That you see far, you see joy and some pain. How true what you said in your last posting. I am strong, I am resilient. It is strange to hear your funerals this afternoon. As we pick up your spear, your words will travel down the generations. I am strong, I am resilient. Thank you.
On that looking ahead, totem is a bear, I look far. I mean, certain decisions, for example, were made in the 54th conference of the African National Congress to boost unity. What was her reflection, as you say? She was also wanting to challenge you on the December conference in terms of decisions that would need to be made in the organization, maybe even compromises at some particular point.
Compromise, that's a word I haven't heard around Jessie any time in the recent past. The word fight was always coming from her pen, from her mouth. She fought for positions and felt that even though fighting does not always mean in loud voices, in reckless conduct or in violence, fighting means being resilient, being strong and pursuing what you believe in. So in an earlier message, what she raised was the question of us coming down to the detail of the policies and the commitments we've made as the ANC, both in policy and constitutional terms, where we have talked about 50%, ensuring that there will be 50% women, and yet we're not implementing it. And for her, what was most immediately painful that she had experienced was the fact that things had retrogressed to a point where she was the only woman official. So she was saying in this message earlier in the year, when are we going to raise it with the men in the movement, that actually when we are dealing with the top 6, strictly speaking, in order for us to be able to implement what we have committed, not as women in the ANC, not as the Women's League in the ANC, but as the African National Congress, the whole African National Congress has made a commitment. And therefore, how do you do it if you don't start with your top 6 and see to it that there are 3 male officials, there are 3 women officials? When are we going to actually bring things down to that detail? in terms of showing, in implementing the policies that we've committed ourselves to, how serious we are.
Yeah.
So I think that we would like to table that as a discussion just for the ANC to show how serious it is.
Baleka, we appreciate your time and thank you very much for your reflections this evening. Baleka Mbete, she is the current ANC Women's League National Task Team convener.